If Reddit existed in ancient Rome, the AITA edition, what happens when Roman social customs clash with basic human decency. Today, we're diving into 3 stories from ancient Rome, where people genuinely didn't know if they were doing the right thing or completely violating everything Roman society stood for. Welcome to If Reddit Existed Back Then. If you're new here, we take historical events and present them as if people back then had Reddit too. Complain on? Hit that subscribe button because Roman social drama was absolutely wild. And trust me, these moral dilemmas are going to make you question everything. Today's theme is Am I the Asshole Roman Edition? 3 stories about people who broke the rules and honestly weren't sure if they were heroes or villains. Spoiler alert, in Rome, being a good person could literally get you killed. Let's jump in. Story 1 R. AITA Rome, 104 AD. User General Maximus retired. Posted, AITA for freeing my slave after 30 years of service. Okay, this is going to sound insane to some of you, but apparently I've caused a massive scandal in my social circle, and I genuinely don't understand why everyone is so angry. Background. I'm a retired general, served Rome for 40 years, fought in Germania, Britannia, Dacia, good career, lots of glory. I'm now 72 years old, and honestly just want to spend my remaining years in peace at my villa. I have a slave named Titus. He's been with me for 30 years. I bought him when he was 20, captured during a campaign in Gaul. At first, he was just another slave, did what I told him, carried my equipment, cooked my meals in the military camps. But over 3 decades, things changed. He saved my life twice. Once he warned me about an ambush because he overheard enemy scouts talking in their language. Another time he pulled me out of a river when my horse threw me during a crossing. The man is loyal beyond anything I've seen from most Roman citizens. He's also become something like a friend. I know you're not supposed to be friends with your slaves. I know that, but when you spend 30 years with someone, when they know all your stories, when they're there during your worst moments and your best moments, it's hard not to develop some kind of bond. 2 weeks ago, it was his 50th birthday. I did the math, realized he'd been serving me for more than half his life, and I thought, what's the point? He's given me 30 years. I'm old. I'm going to die soon anyway. Why not let him spend his final years as a free man? So I did the manumission ceremony, made it official, freed him, gave him his freedom papers, even gave him a small house on the edge of my estate and a stipend so he wouldn't starve. I thought I was doing something decent, Titus cried, like full sobbing, happy tears. He thanked me about 100 times. It felt good. I felt like maybe, after all the violence and warfare, I'd done one genuinely good thing. Then my daughter found out. She showed up at my villa absolutely furious. She's screaming about how I've just given away valuable property. Titus, apparently, is worth at least 8,000 denarii on the current market. Experienced household slave, trustworthy, good health for his age, she said. I essentially threw away 8,000 denarii on sentimental nonsense. Then my son arrived. He's even angrier. He starts yelling about how this affects the inheritance. He'd been counting on inheriting Titus, along with my other 12 slaves. By freeing Titus, I've reduced the estate value. He actually said, "You're stealing from your own grandchildren." But it gets worse. My neighbors, other retired military veterans, are treating me like I've lost my mind. They're saying things like setting a dangerous precedent and slaves need to know their place. And if everyone starts freeing slaves for loyalty, the whole system collapses. One guy, Flavius, who lives 2 estates over, actually said to my face, "Your slave saved your life, so what? That's his job. That's what you own him for. You don't reward slaves for doing what they're supposed to do. That's like rewarding your horse for carrying you." Then yesterday, I got a visit from a magistrate. Apparently, there's some concern in the community that I'm undermining Roman social order. He didn't threaten me directly, but he strongly suggested that I'm setting a bad example and that eccentricities in old age should be controlled by family members before they cause problems. Even Titus himself is catching heat. Some of the other slaves on neighboring estates are apparently talking about freedom now, asking their masters why they can't be freed after long service. The other slave owners are blaming me for putting ideas in their slaves' heads. My own remaining slaves are looking at me differently, like they're wondering if they'll get freed too. One of them actually asked me if he'd get freedom after 20 years. I didn't know what to say. Here's the thing, I don't regret freeing Titus. He earned it. He's a good man. But apparently, in Rome, being a good man as a slave doesn't matter. You're property, period. So, AITA, did I actually do something wrong here? Is everyone right that I'm some senile old fool who doesn't understand how society works? Or is Roman society just insane, and I'm one of the few people who sees it? I'm genuinely confused. I thought I was doing something honorable. Now I feel like I've committed some sort of crime. Let's read the comments on this one. Comment from R-Bot Traditional Roman Patrician. YTA, and I'll tell you why. You didn't just free one slave, you destabilized an entire social system. Every slave in your region now knows that long service might equal freedom. Do you understand what you've done? Slaves work because they have no choice. The moment they think freedom is possible, they start hoping. Hope is dangerous. Hope leads to rebellion. Your good deed might get people killed. There's a reason we don't just free slaves whenever we feel emotional. The system works because it's rigid. Comment from Ayar, Young Roman Cynic, NTA. But also, you're incredibly naive for a military veteran. Rome is built on slavery. Our entire economy depends on it. Our lifestyle depends on it. Every comfort you enjoy exists because someone else has no freedom. That's the deal. Freeing one slave doesn't make you noble. It makes you uncomfortable with a system you've benefited from your entire life. If you really cared about justice, you'd free all your slaves. But you didn't. You freed the one you liked. That's not morality. That's favoritism. Comment from Arato Formers. Leigh Friedman, Nante, and thank you. I was enslaved for 15 years. Before my master freed me, in his will, I now run a successful business. I have a family. I'm a Roman citizen. People like you are rare. Most masters see us as talking tools. They work us until we die and never think twice about it. Your children are angry because they see slaves as inheritance, as money. You saw Titus as a human being. That's not a crime. That's basic decency. Don't let them make you feel guilty for having a conscience. Comment from our Stoic philosopher. Neither YTA nor NTA. You're a man confronting the central contradiction of Roman civilization. We claim to value virtues, honor, loyalty, but our society is built on a foundation that denies those values to an entire class of people. Your slave displayed virtues. He showed loyalty and courage in a just world. Those qualities would be rewarded, but we don't live in a just world. We live in Rome. You did what your conscience demanded. Accept the consequences without regret. That's all any of us can do. Comment from Arla Practical, slave owner. I'm not going to call you an asshole, but I think you made a mistake. Here's what you should have done. Wait until you die, then free him in your will. That way, he still gets his freedom, but you don't upset the social order while you're alive. You don't create problems with your neighbors. You don't give your children grounds to challenge your mental competence. Same result. No drama. Sometimes timing matters more than the action itself. Story 2. AITA Rome 89. At user annoyed, Roman wife posted. AITA Virtus. Refusing to attend my sister's wedding because she's marrying a freedman. I'm going to be called a snob for this. I already know it. But hear me out before you judge me too harshly. My younger sister Julia is getting married next month. I should be happy for her, but I'm refusing to attend the wedding, and now my entire family is furious with me. Here's the situation. Julia is 23 years old, beautiful, educated, from a good family. Our father is an equestrian, which means we're not patrician class, but we're respectable. We have money, social standing, good marriage prospects. Julia could have married well. We've had multiple offers from good families, decent men, appropriate matches. Instead, she's marrying Gaius. Gaius is 41 years old. He's a successful merchant. He's wealthy, actually quite wealthy. He owns 3 shops and a shipping business. He's also a freedman. He was a slave until 8 years ago. Now, before everyone starts attacking me, let me explain why this matters. In Roman society, there are classes for a reason. Patricians marry patricians. Equestrians marry equestrians. Citizens marry citizens. There's an order to things. Freedmen are technically citizens, yes, but they're former slaves. They can't hold certain offices. They can't serve in the legions. Their children will be full citizens, but they themselves carry that mark forever. My sister marrying a freedman means several things for our family. First, it's social embarrassment. People talk. They're already talking. I've heard the whispers at the baths. Did you hear about Julia marrying a former slave? Can you imagine? It reflects on all of us. Second, it affects my own marriage prospects. I'm 26, not married yet, which is already borderline problematic. Now, potential families will look at our family and see that we marry down. They'll wonder if we're desperate, if our finances are worse than people think. Third, and this is the part that really bothers me, Julia doesn't even love him. She likes him. Sure, she says he's kind and generous, but she openly admits she's marrying him for his money. She actually told me he's rich enough that I can overlook his background. That's not love, that's a transaction. If she genuinely loved him, if this was some great romance, maybe I could understand, but she's literally just marrying him because he's wealthy and willing to overlook the fact that she's slightly too old for an ideal first marriage. When I told her I wasn't attending the wedding, she cried. She said I was being cruel and classist. My mother sided with her, said I'm being unreasonable, and that Gaius is a good man who will provide well for Julia. My father is conflicted. I can tell he's not thrilled about the match either, but he's approved it because, honestly, Julia is getting older, and this might be her best option. He's asked me to please attend for the sake of family unity, but here's my position. If I attend, I'm signaling approval. I'm saying this marriage is acceptable, and I don't think it is. I think it's beneath her, beneath our family, and it sets a bad precedent. My brother agrees with me, but he's still attending because he says someone has to represent the family. He thinks I'm right in principle, but wrong in execution. Am I the asshole for refusing to attend? Or am I the only one with the backbone to stand up for our family's dignity? Time to check the comments. Comment from RR Traditional Matron. NTA, you're absolutely right. Social class exists for a reason. Freedmen can be wealthy, yes, but wealth doesn't erase their past. Their children will be citizens. Fine, but mixing classes like this creates confusion in society. What's next? Patricians marrying plebeians, citizens marrying foreigners. There has to be order. Your sister is making a mistake, and you're right not to endorse it. Stand firm. Comment from R. Freedman Merchant. YTA massively, I'm a freedman. I was enslaved for 12 years through no fault of my own. I was captured in war when my city fell. I worked, earned my freedom, built a business, and now I'm wealthier than half the proper citizens who look down on me. Your sister's future husband probably works harder and contributes more to Rome than most senators. You're judging him for something he had no control over. He didn't choose to be enslaved. And now he's succeeded, despite starting with nothing. That's more admirable than being born into your comfortable life. Comment from our cynical Roman. Everyone sucks here. Your sister sucks for marrying, purely for money without love. You suck for being so obsessed with class that you'll miss your own sister's wedding. Gaius probably sucks too for marrying a woman half his age who openly admits she doesn't love him. This whole situation is just Romans being Romans. Transactional marriages, class obsession, and family drama. Tale as old as the empire. Comment from our romantic young woman. AITA, who cares if he was a slave? He's free now. He's wealthy. He'll take care of your sister. You know what's actually embarrassing? A 26-year-old unmarried woman whose pride is so inflated. She can't be happy for her younger sister. You're jealous. Admit it. She found a good situation, and you're still single. That's what this is really about. Comment from our pragmatic father. YTA, but gently. I understand your concerns. I do. Class matters in Rome. But here's the reality. Your sister is 23 and unmarried. That's approaching problematic age. Gaius is offering her security, wealth, and respectability. He's not some poor freedman struggling. He's successful. 30 years from now, no one will care about his past. His children will be full citizens. His grandchildren will be indistinguishable from any other Roman family. You're sacrificing your relationship with your sister over something that will matter less with each generation. Go to the wedding. Story 3. Writer Rome, 97 ad. User confused. Gladiator owner posted, AITA for buying my son, a gladiator for his birthday, instead of a tutor like my wife wanted. This is probably going to sound ridiculous to some of you, but my wife hasn't spoken to me in 3 days, and my mother-in-law is calling me an irresponsible father, so I need outside perspective. My son Lucius just turned 15, big birthday, transitional age in Roman life. I wanted to get him something memorable. My wife wanted me to hire him a Greek rhetoric tutor. She's obsessed with education. She thinks Lucius should become a senator someday, wants him to have the best education possible, learn philosophy, master public speaking, all that patrician stuff. I don't disagree that education is important. But here's the thing, Lucius has no interest in rhetoric, none. Every time I try to talk to him about politics or law, his eyes glaze over. The kid wants to be a soldier. He wants action and glory. He's a typical 15-year-old boy who thinks warfare is glamorous. So for his birthday, I bought him a gladiator, not a famous champion or anything crazy expensive, but a decent fighter, Thracian style. Young guy, maybe 22 years old, 10 fights, 7 wins, good record, entertaining to watch. My plan was that Lucius could watch him fight, learn about combat in a safe way, and maybe it would satisfy his interest in martial matters without him actually having to join the legions and get killed in some Germanic forest. I thought it was a good compromise. He gets his action and violence, but from a safe distance as a spectator and owner, my wife was horrified when I told her. She started listing everything wrong with this decision. 1. I spent 12,000 denarii on a gladiator instead of 2,000 on a year of tutoring. 2. Gladiators are a vulgar interest and not appropriate for someone of our social standing. 3. Owning a gladiator makes Lucius responsible for another human being's life and death at age 15, which she thinks is morally complicated. 4. Gladiators are dangerous. What if the gladiator decides to attack Lucius or try to escape? 5. This encourages Lucius's barbaric interests instead of steering him towards civilized pursuits. She actually said, "You've given our son a human being whose job is to die for entertainment. What kind of lesson is that?" I tried to explain that gladiators are a normal part of Roman life. The games are hugely popular. Emperors sponsor them. Senators own gladiators. It's not weird or unusual. Half of Lucius's friends have fathers who own gladiators or sponsor games, but she keeps saying I'm teaching him wrong values, that violence and death shouldn't be entertainment, that owning another man's life is morally wrong. I pointed out that we own 12 slaves. She said that's different because household slaves serve a practical purpose. Gladiators exist purely for violence. My mother-in-law got involved and started lecturing me about how I'm wasting money and setting a bad example. She said if I had 12,000 denarii to spend, I should have invested it in property or business ventures, not throwing it away on blood sport. Even my own father weighed in. He said I should have at least asked my wife before making a major purchase like this, that even though I'm the head of household and technically can spend money however I want, it's respectful to consult your wife on big decisions. But here's my defense. Lucius is thrilled. He's absolutely ecstatic. He's been going to the gladiator barracks every day to watch training. He's learning about different fighting styles, weapons, tactics. He's engaged and excited in a way I've never seen him with his current studies. The gladiator himself seems fine with the arrangement. I paid fair market price. He's being housed and fed well. This is his profession. It's not like I forced him into this life. He was already a gladiator. I just became his new owner. So am I the asshole here? Is my wife right that I'm teaching our son terrible values? Or is she being overly philosophical about something that's just normal Roman entertainment? I genuinely don't know. Help me out here. Let's read the comments. Comment from a Roman mother. Wayate, and your wife is absolutely right. You gave your 15-year-old son control over another man's life and death. Do you understand how messed up that is? Lucius is a child. He's going to watch this man fight, possibly die, and you've made him the owner. That's going to affect him psychologically, and you're teaching him that human life is entertainment, that violence is exciting, that owning people is normal. Yes, Rome does all these things. That doesn't make them right. Your wife is trying to raise a thoughtful, educated man. You're turning him into a spectator of death. Comment from Ardaro's retired centurion. NTA, your wife is being ridiculous. Gladiatorial games are an essential part of Roman culture. They teach discipline, courage, strategy. Your son watching fights And learning about combat is educational in its own way. Better he learns about violence through controlled arena combat than by being thrown into actual warfare unprepared. You're giving him a realistic view of what fighting actually is. That's valuable. The Greek philosophy stuff is fine, but a Roman man needs to understand martial matters too. You did good. Comment from Arbars Gladiator. Trainer, I'm a Lanista. I own a gladiator school. I'll say nah, no assholes. Here, but with caveats. Your gift is generous, and your son will love it, but your wife has a point about responsibility. Owning a gladiator isn't like owning a horse. These are men with lives and deaths. Some owners get too emotionally invested and are devastated when their gladiators die. Other owners become callous and cruel. At 15, your son might not be emotionally ready for that balance. I'd suggest you maintain control of the gladiator, officially, but let your son think it's his. That way, you can guide him through the moral complexities. Comment from R. Bach, Greek philosopher in Rome. From a philosophical standpoint, the fact that gladiatorial games are normal in Rome doesn't make them ethical. Slavery is normal in Rome. Infanticide is normal in Rome. Normalcy doesn't equal morality. Your wife is trying to raise your son to think critically about the world. You're teaching him to accept violence and human suffering as entertainment without question. These are incompatible philosophies of child rearing. She's right to be upset. Comment from our practical Roman. You should have discussed a 12,000 denarii purchase with your wife first. That's basic respect. She should accept that Roman boys are interested in combat, and trying to suppress that completely is unrealistic. You both need to compromise. Maybe hire the rhetoric tutor and keep the gladiator, but establish clear rules about how Lucius interacts with him. Teach him responsibility alongside entertainment. Roman life is full of contradictions. Teach your son to navigate them, not pretend they don't exist. So what happened to our 3 Romans who broke the rules? The retired general who freed his slave. Titus lived as a free man for 7 more years. When the general died, he left additional money to Titus in his will, which the general's children immediately challenged in court. They lost. Titus used that money to free 3 other slaves. The general's children never spoke to him again, but Titus named his first grandson Marcus after the general. The woman who refused to attend her sister's wedding. She eventually went, showed up late, stood in the back, left early. Her sister never forgot that she almost didn't come. 20 years later, when the commenter needed financial help after her husband died, her sister didn't help her. Some grudges last forever. Even in Rome, the father who bought his son a gladiator. The gladiator survived 3 more years and 12 more fights before dying in the arena. Lucius, who was 19 by then, was there when it happened. He cried for 3 days. Then he freed his other gladiators and never attended the games again. His mother never said, "I told you so," but she didn't have to. His father hired him the best rhetoric tutor in Rome the following month. Lucius eventually became a magistrate known for questioning the morality of gladiatorial games. He never won that fight, but he never stopped asking the question. Ancient Rome was a civilization built on contradictions. Honor your family, but betray them for power. Value loyalty, but own other human beings. Celebrate courage, but make entertainment of death. The Romans who questioned these contradictions were often called crazy, disloyal, or soft. But maybe the crazy ones were the only sane people in the room. If you enjoyed this journey into Roman moral confusion, hit that like button and subscribe for more historical drama. Next time, we're heading to medieval Europe during the Crusades. You won't believe what knights were arguing about. Drop a comment telling me which Roman you agreed with most. The general who freed his slave, the woman who skipped her sister's wedding, the dad with the gladiator gift? Let me know. Thanks for watching. And remember, just because everyone's doing it doesn't mean it's right. That was true in ancient Rome, and it's still true today.